welcome back to the David67 Celtic News YouTube channel. Today, Monday the 25th of September. Quite a quiet news day for Celtic, and so will be quite a short video today. Before we crack on with today's video, do please click the subscribe button, nearly at target number 2 in terms of numbers. Click the like button for the video as well, and feel free to pop any comments into the comment section, preferably ones that are polite, constructive, informative, etc. And also a reminder that there's a Celtic related trivia question each day in the quiz section of the community channel. And this often proves very popular. Now, as I was saying, quite a quiet news day today for Celtic. Important things going on at Celtic are that Celtic remain in talks, it appears, with both Matt O'Riley and Rio Hatate. The talks with Hatate did start prior to the transfer window, but he requested them to be postponed and looked at again after the transfer window was shut. There are some rumours that he had been feeling a little unsettled, as there had been apparent interest from Tottenham and Brighton, and also from a couple of the Saudi League sides as well. However, thankfully for Celtic, no transfer offers appear to have been lodged, and certainly any that were would appear to have been quietly turned down. Whilst I think that signing Hatate to a longer term contract, I think the first few weeks of this season and his performances in recent league matches indicates that Matt O'Riley very much is, I think, the first priority for a contract extension. He has attracted quite a lot of interest from English Premier League clubs and Serie A teams in Italy, and Celtic were certainly known to have turned down several bids from Leeds, and also a couple of bids from Italy. And there was said to be a lot of interest in the English Premier League for him also. Also, the Danish manager is thought to be about to include Matt O'Riley in the full Danish squad in the next international break in a couple of weeks' time. And I think there is certainly an argument to say at the moment he is Celtic's best player, the number one on each Rodgers team sheet, and also probably the best player currently in Scotland. And I think if there was a vote amongst fellow pros and from journalists for Player of the Year, I think Matt O'Riley at the moment would be the by far the biggest vote getter, both from fellow pros and from the journalists. And for that reason, I think Celtic should go all in extending his contract, keeping him at the club for 4 or 5 years, and him continue to develop under the coaching of Rodgers, becoming a more complete midfielder. I thought especially at the weekend in the game against Livingston after Joe Hart's red card that O'Riley very much stepped up. He played in a more conventional middle three role alongside Hatate and McGregor. He showed more defensive abilities than usual, while still being able to battle for balls in midfield, intercept and pass, and obviously also break forward to score Celtic's second goal. I think he deservedly was made man of the match by most groups, although Dyson Maeda ran him very very close. Also, the indications are that the Republic of Ireland are intending to call up Liam Scales to their full international squad, as is the Norway manager, using Odin Thiago Holm also in the full Norwegian squad in the next international break. I think the promotion of Odin Thiago Holm and Liam Scales into the full international squad is a very good sign for Celtic. Shows how well Liam Scales especially has played since he got brought into the side due to our injury crisis, and also I think the promotion of Matt O'Riley into the Danish side, very good for Celtic, and also increases his coverage in world football. A few other little bits of news. At the weekend, Marco Tilio made his Celtic debut in a 1-1 draw against Ayr in a testimonial match. In that match, also Kobayashi and Mikey Johnston made their competitive return to football in that match. And also Kwon, our South Korean defensive midfielder, played, and also our new young Australian defender who has developed a very good reputation in international youth football, Liam Bonetig, who recently signed for us and will be playing B-team football this season. He apparently was very impressive in the 1-1 draw testimonial match at the weekend. Marco Tilio played well, and he was playing in a midfield three rather than his usual wide position, but had adapted well to playing that role. And also both Mikey Johnston and Rocco Vata apparently played very well in their wide roles during the game too. So these all obviously are all very good signs for Celtic. I think Marco Tilio could well turn out to be a very useful player for Celtic, especially if he is able to adapt and play centrally, as well as his preferred wide right and left roles, and he also has the capability of playing through the middle. And so hopefully with good coaching he'll get from Rodgers and Kuhl and Kennedy, etc., I think he could turn into a very good Celtic player in the long term. The saga regarding our ex-player Jota carries on with Al Ittihad in Saudi Arabia. They now are launching an internal inquiry to see what went wrong in terms of his signature, when it would appear that the club also had other foreign players on their radar, whom they subsequently signed, relegating Jota out to be out with their league squad, which means he only will be eligible for their equivalent of the Champions League. And I would doubt that if he's not in their league squad, I doubt they'll play him either in their Asian version of the Champions League. And it looks like he's going to be sitting out from playing football until January. He and his agent are negotiating having his contract terminated. But my understanding, even though that would make him a free agent, that there would be restrictions imposed by FIFA of him playing for another club in the period up to January. Although it is said he is very keen to come back to Celtic, although, as I may have said before, I think his wages demands may now be out with Celtic's ability, and we actually have got several players who play wide right and wide left, and it would be better, I think personally, for them to be given time to develop in those roles, And I think Jota is much, much more likely to end up playing in the English Premier League or an equivalent league, um, with the financial ability to pay Jota's current wages. And Spurs do seem to be number one candidate, reuniting him with Ange Postecoglou. Good news also for Celtic's backroom staff that Darren O'Day has turned down the opportunity to go to manage Inverness Cali Thistle. He appeared to be on a final three alongside, it's rumoured, Scott Brown and Neil McCann. Neil McCann, of course, has had previous experience as a caretaker for Inverness Cali Thistle, and Scott Brown recently left English lower league football. There were rumours that Scott Brown might be coming back to join Brendan Rodgers' coaching staff, but over the last couple of weeks that does not seem to have come to fruition, and it was said that he was very interested in exploring the Inverness job. It would be nice to see Scott Brown back at Celtic, but also I think it'd be nice to see him develop as a manager, and Inverness Cali Thistle might well be a good option for him to gain further skills and experience. One last piece of good news is the announcement that Cameron Carter-Vickers is getting back into some training with a view to starting full training in a couple of weeks' time at the start of the next international break. And Celtic are said to be lining him up to make his first team comeback in the game against Hearts on the 22nd of October, with a view to having him back in Champions League action on the 25th against Atletico Madrid. It would be wonderful for Celtic if we do get CCV back for the second half of the Champions League games, so that we can push towards third or second place in the group. Probably at that time, Rodgers will have a difficult choice as to who to partner CCV with in defence, with candidates such as Phillips, Scales, and Lagerbielke. I personally, at this stage, would go with Lagerbielke, because I think in the long term he's going to be a more talented player than Scales. Phillips has unfortunately taken a few weeks to get into match practice and fitness. Then, of course, he got injured in his first game, which was the Dundee match, and then has missed the next couple of games. I'm sure by the time that CCV comes back, Phillips will be fully fit and much more blended into Celtic's team. And so it will be interesting to see which option Rodgers goes with when CCV is back fully fit. One last interesting piece of news is that Yusuke Udeguchi, who is currently on loan back in Japan with Avispa Fukuoka, apologies for the second part of that team name. He has been apparently playing very well on loan. His team are around mid-table in Japan. He, as I said earlier, he's been playing apparently well, both in central midfield, and has also been pushed up to be a striker. His team usually play with a lone striker, and on a couple of occasions he's been moved forward from midfield or been brought on off the bench to play as the lone striker. And whilst he's not actually scored any goals in that role in the few games he's played up front, he has actually set up a number of goals. He will be coming back to Celtic, it's thought, at the end of his loan deal, which is the 31st of December. And so it would be actually interesting to see if how much he has progressed going back to Japanese football, and whether he does have the flexibility to play more of an advanced role, or even debutise as a lone striker in the Kyogo role. I suspect in the end he's actually going to be a player that we end up transferring back to Japanese football, as he struggled to settle in his first spell at Celtic prior to the loan. Also, that was hampered by injury, and it must also be remembered that he struggled previously when at Leeds, ending up going back to Japanese football, and then came back to us under Postecoglou. So that just about finishes things for today. Please like and subscribe if you can. Do have a wee go at the quiz question, and do feel free to pop any comments into the comment section, both in response to today's video and opinions, or on any other Celtic related matters, and I will do my best to reply as and when I can. So for today, thanks for listening, thanks for watching, goodbye, and hail, hail!
Yeah.